let's do a little sprint. Hello everybody, welcome to number 27. I'm Jack, and today I'm going to go and do a video on absolutely the most bonkers Austin Healey Sprite that you will ever have seen. I've been trying to do a video of this thing ever since I saw it on social media, and the creator, Pipey McGraw, I was in touch with him, but he was busy, we didn't manage to get a time in. But as soon as I saw it was sold, I tracked down the new owner and begged him to let me have a go, and James said, yeah, absolutely, love to. And so I am heading down now, and this thing, trust me, is absolutely bonkers. Right everybody, I'm here with James, who owns the car. Tell me a little bit about it. So you bought it from Pipey, right?
I remember I followed Pipey for years on all of his builds and stuff, and then saw it properly at Retro Rides Weekender. Was it May this year? And I was just like, that is just epic, like properly epic. It's a USA car, so it's left-hand. It was left-hand drive and everything. It was because most of these went to America.
Yes.
New, because obviously they didn't. All they had was big Mopar V8s. They didn't have a little British sports car. Yeah. So it went over obviously USA when it was new. I think it was based in New Mexico, because I've still got the original number plate for it. And then apparently the gearbox broken like in the 70s, and it was just basically left outside the barn. It's solid. It wasn't too rotten. I mean, some of the floors have gone through and stuff, but the majority of it weren't that bad. I opened the bonnet. Yeah.
Right, so that says Austin on it, so obviously it's a completely standard A series.
It's a stock A series, but it's like what they do with the Minis. They put the BMW heads on with the twin cam. That's all that is. So it's a stock A series. No, it is not an A series.
So what is it? Because I was under the impression, because I'd only seen this fleetingly, and I was going to research it, but I hadn't had time. I was under the impression it was a VTEC.
The red cam cover gives it away to thinking it's a VTEC, but it's not. It's actually a Toyota 4AGE 4Age. It's a 20 valve, 5 valve per cylinder. It's what they call the black top. They fit in the AE 111 Levins. Okay. So which is the sort of, it's the last of the 4Ages that they did. It's sort of probably the best one they ever did, really.
So it's a Japanese only market car, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they did. I think they did a silver top, which, because this has got throttle bodies on it from factory, which all the black top had, and it was high compression and different cams and like loads of other bits. But they've had loads of 4Ages and everything else, but this particular black top wasn't ever in the UK, so it's only like Japanese only market.
That's amazing.
There's not many of them. I think it's a Simpson header or something, which goes down into like a collector down there. Okay. And then comes up round with the flexi, and then the box is mounted on the side. Okay. And then the pipe comes out and round and out the side. So it's quite nice. You drive down the road and it's not too loud, other than a gearbox screaming in your head.
Yes, we'll go on to that in a minute. But how much power is it putting out?
160 horsepower.
And that was on a dyno, right? So yeah, that's not like...
I put it on the dyno at work when I got it, because it was never on the dyno before I got it. It did 138 at the wheels, and the book on these engine is 160, and I'm like, well, it's bang on the money.
Okay, dude, so the gearbox...
The gearbox is a Type 9 Ford, like out of Mark II Escort. It's a Tranex straight cut box. It's got, I think, first and second are long, and then third, fourth and fifth are really close to each other. Like, you change gear third, fourth and fifth, and it's like 500 RPM between each gear change. Okay. So at the first, when I put it on the dyno, went through the gears, I thought the clutch was slipping. But it wasn't. It was just the gears are like so close. But on the roads, by the time you get to the top of second gear, you're doing 75 miles an hour anyway. Wow. So you're already flying by the time you keep going for it. But yeah, fourth gear is 1-to-1, so that's quiet. You just drive down the road and it doesn't sound like a straight cut box. So you can have some vague thoughts, but I wear noise cancelling earphones when I go anywhere in it, so of any distance anyway.
Right, we've got to have a look at some of the detailing on this build, because that is partly what really attracted me to it, and I know also James, and it is just fantastic. I know it's got this patina, however you want to say it, which is brilliant. You know, it is incredible, and you would initially assume it was quite a tatty car, but it's all just completely deliberate. And when you go inside, you sort of realise the attention to detail, you know, that has taken place in this build. If you look inside, look at that pedal box, look at the way all the fuel lines, brake lines, look at these seats, and just check out all the little custom touches. I mean, that, absolutely love that. Where did he get that from? Do you know?
Paul, his mate, Coltec Classics, he made it for him.
Unbelievable. And then
It's got fish in it.
that is just stunning. There is a little fish in there.
There are 2 fishes.
That is
flowers, and that was
absolutely
done by.
love that.
There's a bloke
Little
in Japan.
handles.
And the door rounds, they were done by a bloke in Japan.
What are these seats?
They're Kirkies. So if you, I think it's this one. Pull that off, and it's still got Kirky
Oh.
fabrications. So they're like extra wide.
Fantastic. And these, that was Pipey?
Yeah.
Did
So these were actually in his E-type. So they were made by his mate, was it Josh's mate, Rawhide down his way. So those, I think, I can't remember if the seats were, but the bases were in his E-type when he had that, and he just swapped them into this. So, lovely fuel tank in the back. It's got a race tank in the back of it.
Absolutely love it. And then there's the window there that we took out earlier, and then a race fuel tank.
And it's got no fuel gauge. I've got a wooden stick, dip the stick in it, and then you just sort of look and go.
Okay.
About 3/4.
Right, everybody, well, this thing is just so overwhelming, just the noise it makes, how it feels. James did tell me, he is sitting next to me, I think you can see him, he did tell me that the steering was direct, and oh my god, you weren't joking, buddy. It's unreal. So this car doesn't even have a, hold on, am I in third? Yeah, I'm in third, fourth. This car doesn't even have the normal steering box that Sprites have. It's got, is it a quake steering box, did you say?
Yeah, it's a quake rack, yeah.
So rack and pinion, and it's incredibly direct. The one good thing, James was saying, is that the brakes, mate, what is going on with the brakes? Do they need a really firm push?
You need 2 feet and you just stand on it.
Wow!
And I think the
Mate, you should have warned me about that. Like, the brakes, really... They do work though, do they? They just have to press really hard.
Put your whole body weight on it.
So this Toyota engine revs to 7,800. And that it's completely standard, so that is just the madness of the Japanese, basically, because it's just a standard road engine, right?
Yeah.
7,800 on a fairly free-cooking engine, it's just amazing. It scares the crap out of me. It really does. And you've got to keep a lookout for sort of potholes and things as well. But it's so loud, and you have to rev it. I mean,
It starts going over 5.
yeah. Well, and when I noticed before, 6.5 is where it really starts shifting. The other thing that you guys can't tell, but you can only tell if you're in the cabin, is that when you do accelerate hard, after about sort of 5-10 seconds, you get a real nice sort of toasty, rubbery smell in the car of burning rubber, because it just squats. The car just squats and then basically starts to rub a little bit on the arches, which is something that James is in the process of sorting out. So a couple of things I was going to mention to you. So when I first saw it, and I was sort of admiring the way that the brake lines and fuel lines had been routed, and then after about half an hour I sort of thought, hold on a minute, why did they route them inside? And it's basically because it rides so low, it's to get it clearance, right?
It's quite civilised in 4th gear. It's like how it came out of the factory.
I love that. So James has just said, they probably won't be able to. I love that. James has just said, oh, it's quite civilised in 4th gear, isn't it? A bit like when it came out of the factory. It's like, no, James, it absolutely is not civilised. At this speed and in this gear, it's just about bearable. You're like, yeah, that's okay.
I think
But-
put it in fifth.
Oh, and then it comes back. Yeah, so of course in fourth is the only gear in which it doesn't whine.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you know, suspension's stiff, but it deals with the little bumps quite well. It's got a little bit of pliability, just has no travel. Come on, let's do a little sprint. Amazing, no.
That's on my list to do.
It's a good job it's quite a slow car, really, so it doesn't...
Not that slow.
Oh my god, it's not slow, it's, yeah. Absolutely overwhelming for the senses, it really is. But I absolutely love it, mate. It's just... It's so much fun. The steering is fantastic. It's really intuitive. You just sort of, it flows with the car. I can't believe, I know it's got a lot of negative camber, but it doesn't feel nervous. I'm like amazed. You know, it's quite blunted. You bump through it off a bit, but the car's blunted. It feels fine. If it wasn't for the noise it makes, in terms of the way it sits on the road, it's alright. The longer journeys it wouldn't be so bad. So it's a real dichotomy of a thing, this car, because in one way it is quite terrifying, because when it goes, it does go, and you have to rev it, and the noise is just so overwhelming that I just almost don't like doing it. But that's the gearbox almost more than the engine. But then the way it handles, the way it feels on the road is actually much better than you would think. It's pretty good. The steering feels natural. Because the engine's completely standard, you don't have to worry about it kicking back or being really twitchy or cutting out at junctions or anything like that. So it's a real opposite kind of car, really civilised in one way. It's fuel injection. So it's a real sort of Jekyll and Hyde car. You drive it slowly, and I would say most people would be able to drive this slowly without a problem. The gearbox is simply a delight. It's just lovely, really lovely. Really quick, really slick, really mechanical, really light, precise. It's lovely. And the car itself behaves itself pretty well. The engine's flexible, so it's got plenty of torque low down. It's just that when you do rev it through, and even as a passenger I did notice that, it's quite frankly a bit terrifying. The fact that you really have to stamp on the brakes doesn't help that, because that is, with a car like this, it's quick, it doesn't have much suspension travel, so you've got to be careful about where you place it on the road. So if you arrive somewhere a bit too quick, you'd like to be able to reduce speed quite quickly, and you really have to stamp on those brakes.
Basically leave a bit of a gap after these, and just go for it in first, down and straight, and hit the limiter, and into second.
You actually want me to hit the limiter?
Busy day, isn't it?
Yeah, very busy. I'll be able to go after this. I go to 7.8, I changed at 7. It makes so much noise, I'm just like, I can't do it, it's going to blow up. It just, I think once you're used to it, it makes a huge difference. It's friendlier than I thought, but driving it hard I think does take a bit of bravery as well.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. Seriously, James. Thank you so much.
That's right.
I think it's just brilliant. It's not just the way it drives, because for me, although it's incredible, it's too extreme. Right? For me, it's just too extreme. I'm too old for this. You're all right. You're a young man. It's too extreme, but I absolutely love it, and it's just everything else about it. So I think on mine, I am thinking maybe I'll do the suspension because I just need to lower it a bit. But listen, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thanks, man. It's just brilliant. Thank you all so much for watching. I don't know how much you can hear about this, what the sound is like, but I had an absolute blast today, and I love this. I love this. This is the best Sprite I've ever driven. See you soon. Do subscribe if you haven't, and if you need to contact me, if you have unusual cars like this is what I really want to try and do videos of. If you have anything similar vein, please contact me. See you for the next one.